Hello everyone, this is Shravani De. Today I will start teaching about class 10 history ICSE book, the first chapter, the first war of independence. Now basically it was a conscious struggle against the colonial tyranny of the Britishers. It was one of the most important events of Indian history, and also the first rebellion against the East India Company, which took a massive form. We know it by various names like the Sepoy Mutiny, the first revolt of 1857, the first war of independence, and the first rebellion. Now, it received a widespread support of the people throughout the country, and it did not only confined to the sepoys, who were the native soldiers. Now, the million Indians took part in this struggle. It occurred at the time when there were various reasons. There was various discontentment all over the country. The Hindus and the Muslims, they kept aside their religious indifference and they came together to fight against the Britishers. Now, why it is important, why the revolt of 1857 is important in history of India is because it ended the reign of the East India Company, and it was a reason behind the start of the British government. Now, it shook the foundation of the East India Company by disclosing their inefficiency to handle the rising power, the rising unity of the people, and it was also followed by many acts or many reforms which abolished the rule of East India Company, and the British government, through the representatives, they controlled the India later on. Now we will also mention about the various rebellions who supported the revolt of 1857. First and foremost, we'll talk about Mangal Pandey, who was the main leader of the revolt, and then he was followed by Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi, then Kunwar Singh of Mewar, then Tatia Top and Nana Sahib of Kanpur, and Bahadur Shah of Delhi. Now I'll discuss about the political causes which led to the first war of independence. First, we'll discuss about the doctrine of lapse. Now, the then Governor General was Lord Dalhousie, and approximately his reign was from 1846 to 1856. Now, his policy of annexation and conquest showed clearly that the territory of no Indians was safe. No Indian prince was safe. The doctrine of lapse created a sense of alarming among the ruling chiefs. The doctrine meant that when a ruler of a dependent state died, then automatically the state would be passed on to the East India Company, to the English Company. Dalhousie claimed that the heirs who adopted without the consent of the company would inherit the private properties of the deceased ruler and not his territory. The prominent states to fall into victim of this policy was basically Satara, Jhansi, and Nagpur. We'll just briefly discuss about Rani Jhansi, who died in 1853, leaving no child, and she was just a widow. The widow Rani was just pensioned. Now her son was adopted. He was Anand Rao and was not recognized as a lawful successor of the throne. The doctrine of lapse was basically a cause of discontent, not only among the rulers but also among the people in a large extent. They were basically angry against the illness and the ill treatment and the dismanneredly ruled British soldiers. Second, we'll look into the discourtesy to the Mughal emperor. The Mughal emperor during that period was Bahadur Shah, and he was just by title ruler, and he did not enjoy any power. His value was devalued by Lord Dalhousie when he announced that on the death of the king, his successors would have to leave the imperial palace, which was Red Fort. Later on in 1856, Lord Canning also added that Bahadur Shah's successors would not be allowed to use the imperial title, which was the king, and such a discourtesy to the Mughal emperor which deeply hurt the sentiments of the Muslims, and they also eventually took part into the revolution or the revolt. Now, the annexation of Awadh, which is a very important topic and very important reason, a political issue. Now, on 7th February 1856, Nawab Wajid Ali Shah, who was disposed on the grounds that Awadh was not well maintained or Awadh was not well managed. Now, on February 13th, the Court of the Directors ordered Awadh's complete annexation to the company's dominion. The annexation of Awadh was just a high-handed on the part of the company, and it was the Nawab of Awadh, he was loyal to the company, and though he was loyal to the company, yet the Britishers, they actually did not kept any of the promises, or they did not give any privileges to the Nawab. This caused a resentment among those soldiers of the British Indian Army who came from Awadh. It was also followed by the resentment of the Talukdars and the Zamindars by the introduction of various land revenue reforms like Rajwari settlement, Zamindari settlements, and many other trade and commerce reforms, subsidiary alliances, etc. Now, the Britishers had confiscated their estates, the estates of the Zamindars. Now, how unpopular the company's rule was, this could be judged by the fact that Awadh played a major role in the War of 1857. So, we have to just deeply look upon the annexation of Awadh as the major reason of the political cause or the political issue of the 1857 revolt. Now, the unpopular administration, like the administrative failures, are also to be taken into account. There were several reasons which made the British administration highly unpopular. First was that the British officials, they were not easily approachable. The Indians, they could not easily approach their grievances or present their grievances to the British officials, and this actually made a deep gap. This actually framed a deep gap between the Indians and the British the administrators. Now, second was the people found themselves that they were out of place with the English laws and the English language. The British officials had no knowledge regarding the manners and customs and the traditions of the Indian and the habits, and especially the habits of the Indian people. Third was that Indians were being exhausted from the high offices. They were excluded from the post of the high offices. This was a very important reason for the resentment. And they were also backdrawn from the post of the administration, the high post of administrations, which led a sort of resentment. Finally, the British officials had a great contempt for the Indians, where Sir Syed Ahmed Khan said that their pride and arrogance led them to consider the natives of India as undeserving the name of human beings. Here, he is trying to say that the pride and arrogance of the British officials British administrators, this led them to consider that the native of the Indians, they were undeserving. They were not as equal as the British officials or the British people who were there in India. So always there was a quite gap between the Indians and the Britishers. Now we also come across to some vague and floating rumors. It was like the people thought initially, the Indians thought initially that the British days were numbered. They thought that they came to power in 1757, immediately after the Battle of Plassey, and their rule would come to end by 1857. But this was a kind of rumor which was spread. Now I will discuss about the social and religious causes. The socio-religious factors were also responsible for causing uneasiness among the people of India. Fears regarding mass conversion to Christianity. The Christian missionaries created a sense of alarm among both the Hindus and the Muslims. The introduction of Bible, not only in Christian institutions but also in various government schools. The prisoners in the jails, they were instructed in Christianity, and the officials openly preached Christian doctrines in mosques and temples. The police force were also used for conversions. A feeling of panic was rising in the people who believed that they would all be converted to Christianity. The laws that interfered with the religion and customs of the people. The Act of 1850 changed the Hindu law of property. It enabled the converts from Hinduism to inherit the property of their father. Now the Hindus regarded it as an incentive to give up on one's own religious faith. The company's administration imposed taxes on the various properties which was previously tax-free. There existed many social evils among the entire nation, the entire India. In 19th century, the British took measures to control some of the evils. First was the first and very important act which was introduced in the year 1856 was the Widow Remarriage Act. Earlier, sati and infanticide has been prohibited. Now the reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Keshav Chandra Sen, they themselves attacked the sati and infanticide, but people did not react favorably to their measures. Now they thought that the interference of the Britishers in the religions of the people was a sign of danger. Third point is the introduction of railways and telegraphs. The railways and telegraphs were looked down upon as it was a mean to break the social caste system. In railway compartments, all the people, the caste, be the creed, anything, they had to sit together. So it was not possible for them to maintain the caste hierarchy. Now the telegraph, there was a rumor that the poles would be used for the hanging of the people who went against the company's rule in India. The indignities hurled at Indians. The Englishmen in India could insult whoever they wanted. They could humiliate whenever, and they could even kill the people without the consent. And there are these certain indignities alienated the Britishers from the Indian masses. Fears regarding English education. The fifth point, which falls under the socio-religious practices or the socio-religious cause, was the fears regarding the English education. Christian missionaries had established a number of schools in British India. Gradually, the number of government schools also began to grow. The Bengal government established the English class in Kolkata, Madrasa school, which was a Muslim institution. Later on, the English classes were also started in Benares Sanskrit College. But the shifting of emphasis from Oriental to the Western education was not received well by the people, especially by the Pandits and the Maulavis, because they saw it as an attempt to discourage the Islamic and the Hindu studies. There was also a fear of the objective that the Britishers were not promoting the literature and science, rather they were trying to induce the people to become Christians. Now I will discuss about the economic causes. It was a natural consequence of the British rule was the economic exploitation of the country. First point, the ruin of trade and handicrafts. An act was passed which prohibited the use of Indian silk and calicoes in England around the year 1720. Now, the use of the British rulers, they deliberately crippled Indian arts and crafts. The art of spinning and weaving, they were all extinct. Now, the export of cotton and silk, which was also seized. The manufacturing towns of Dhaka, Surat, they now looked quite helpless and desolate. The second point is the impoverishment of cultivators. It devalued the power of the zamindars who enjoyed previously, and it also started the permanent settlement, Rayatwari settlement and Mahalwari settlement, which gave an absolute ownership to the zamindars. But the revenue collectors, they were quite brutal and strict in collection of revenue, even if there were no chance or the farmers were unable to pay the revenue. Third point is India reduced to an agricultural colony to the Britishers. The manufacturers in England, they required raw cotton. Other than raw cotton, oil seeds, then silk for their industries. They did all that they could keep India mainly an agricultural colony or agricultural country. So the fourth point is inhuman treatment, which meted out to the indigo cultivators. The indigo trade was highly profitable to the planters, but the conditions under which the peasants worked were far from being human. The peasants were forced to cultivate indigo and nothing else in the field chosen by the English planters. They had to, the planters, they burnt the houses of the indigo cultivators. Their cattle were carried off and plundered. Annexation of rent-free lands and other estates. Inam Commission was appointed in the year 1852 to inquire into the title deeds of the ownership of a large estate. Now, the many landowners pleaded that they could not produce the title deeds. The government did not accept the plea, and which resulted into a lot of discontentment among the people. The gentry class, they had to face a hardship in Awadh. Most of them were deprived of their estates. Then the sixth point is the loss of livelihood. Millions of artisans and the craftsmen who lost their livelihoods, job, and had no alternative means for maintaining their life. The introduction of the Western education, this also made them feel jobless in the days to come. Annexation of Indian states brought disbandment, and the livelihood for the thousands of the people went to a loss. Then the seventh point was big famine. This is also to be taken into account. Then life was hard hit. It came to unbounded misery when famine hit. The cattle, they had to dispose their land, their cattle to procure food. Then the children, the mothers had to sell their children for their livelihood, and which resulted, the famines no doubt resulted in drought or other natural calamities. Then the swarms of locusts, this was also responsible for a huge economic loss in India. The government could lessen people's misery, but it seemed that it had no hard will to act. Now I'm going to discuss about the military cause. Low salary and poor prospects of promotion. All the high ranks in the army were reserved only for the Britishers. The native sepoys could not rise above the rank of the subedars or the risaldars. The faulty distribution of troops, the troops were not properly distributed. They were scatteredly distributed, which led to the outbreak of the strike. And these difficult situations led the Indians to take an opportunity to fight against the Britishers. Large number of unemployed soldiers. The disbanded soldiers were ready to join in any activity so that they could go against the British army and the British power. The disproportion between Indian and the British troops. This is very important, as the Indians were 2,33,000, where the British troops were just 45,000. So this gave the courage to the Indian soldiers to go against the the English people. Social distance between the British and officers and the Indian soldiers. The officers treated the Indians as just as the mere servant. They were looked down upon, as they were shedding their blood to service for the British people, to service for the masters. Discontent and disaffection in the Bengal army during the Anglo-Afghan war. The Bengal army denied to go for a sea voyage to cross over the Sindhu river, as it was against their religion. Loss of prestige and Afghan war. The first war of Afghan was complete failure for the Britishers. This exposed their weaknesses too. This also led to enormous waste of money, time, and here the Indians could understand their confidence that they could challenge the Britishers in any situation. Now, the immediate cause was the introduction of the Enfield rifle. Here, the fat of the cow and the pigs were used in the cartridges. This activity was totally against the religion of both the Hindus and the Muslims. Their sentiments got triggered, and hence there was a widespread wildfire, where the whole Bengal army was seized with panic. Thank you for watching the lecture video. Photos will be attached at the end of the video, and the book's name will also be referred. Please like, share, comment and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon. Thank you.